What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel. And as the former Spurs legend Jimmy Greaves was so fond of saying, football, it's a funny old game, innit? Arsenal, 20 years since we last won the Premier League, and we stand on the edge of achieving it again. It's a slim hope, but there is a hope. For us to win the Premier League this season, though, we have to rely on our old enemy, nearest rivals, Tottenham Hotspur, to beat Manchester City. And that would be the last thing Spurs fans want. In a way, it would be the Spursiest thing that could possibly happen to see Spurs somehow, even though they're in terrible form, beat arguably the greatest Premier League side there's ever been. It's not beyond the realms of possibility either, because in the last 4 seasons that Manchester City have travelled to the Spurs Stadium, whatever it's called, they have failed to score. They've lost every single one. They even got knocked out by Spurs in the Champions League. They haven't recorded a victory over Spurs in this fixture since 2018. And all of the talk leading up to this match has been about how Spurs fans will react. Will they boo if their team wins? Will they boo if they score a goal? Now, Ange Postecoglou, who joined Tottenham this summer as a sort of happy-go-lucky Australian, says what he thinks, cheerful soul, has become increasingly belligerent and increasingly sour. But he, in his press conference, acted as though this isn't even a thing. He acted surprised. Well, let's have a quick look.
If a proportion of the Spurs fans, and in my straw poll of knowing 4, 2 want you to win, 2 don't.
So you reckon it's 50% of our fan base, according to your
fan base,
poll?
I know, yeah. If a proportion don't want you to win, nearly every Arsenal fan I know does want you to win tomorrow night. Have you ever been in this position before? You ever known this position before?
What's that?
Whereby your deadliest rivals want you to win because basically you'd hand them the title.
I don't know. I've never thought of sport in that way. I'm sure, I like I said, there's a pretty simple notion to this. There's a game of football tomorrow night. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think we are going to do as a team, or any team on this planet? Are we going to just try and win? It's a simple, basic premise. Now, how that makes people feel, I'm not really fussed. I don't really care. I'd hate to think that anyone thinks that we would go out there tomorrow night with anything other than trying to measure ourselves against a top team and maybe win a game of football that's consequential. How are we ever going to become a team that wins things if we don't win the big games, if we shy away from it? So why would we shy away from a challenge tomorrow night that exists? So, look, I get it. And look, your straw poll of Arsenal fans, if it's correct, then we're going to walk out to 50% of boos and 50% of cheering tomorrow night. But I think that's highly unlikely.
Moving it along a bit.
Let's do that.
Yes, do that. The last couple of home games.
So does Ange Postecoglou, who of course managed Celtic versus Rangers, does he really not understand what's going on here? And can you forgive him for not understanding it? Is it really so hard to imagine? Well, just to add spice to this, earlier today, Liverpool drew 3-3 with Aston Villa despite being 3-1 up. Villa coming back to get a point, but a point isn't quite enough. Man City visit Spurs tomorrow and have to win. Here's what Pep said about it.
In terms of we don't win, we are not going to win the Premier League, and this is what we have to do.
It's as simple as this. They either beat Spurs or they effectively hand the title to Arsenal. Now, of course, there's still some possibilities if they draw. But if Tottenham beat Manchester City tomorrow, all we've got to do is beat Everton on the final day of the season. And I think we all know we can do that. But with Aston Villa's draw against Liverpool today, there is an outside chance that if Tottenham beat Manchester City and win their last game of the season against Sheffield United, that they can secure a Champions League place. So could it possibly be true that Tottenham fans would rather see us lose the title than get Champions League themselves? I know it's incredibly difficult to imagine it's true. And as Arsenal fans, we've never been in this situation. I have absolutely no conception of what this must be like. But let's listen to some Tottenham fans on this.
Spurs fans want to lose that game against Manchester City. What are your feelings? Because, of course, there is still the possibility of Champions League football depending on results with Villa.
Listen, I remember about 20 years ago when I used to live in London. I remember when George Graham was manager at Arsenal when they won the league back in '89. And I remember going to White Hart Lane for Spurs in Liverpool. We lost the game 2-1 to Peter Beard's penalty. And in the ground, every Spurs fan wanted Liverpool to win. Because I mean, if Liverpool had lost, it would have given us a title. And I think it's the same today as well. Every Spurs fan I know want Man City to win the league. And I also write, even though we play Man City on Tuesday, I want Spurs to lose. So therefore, Arsenal can't win the title.
Would you rather Spurs get relegated than Arsenal win a title?
Absolutely.
It's got that bad that former Arsenal man Perry Groves said this live on air yesterday.
Come on, you Spurs! Oh my God, did I just say that? Was that in my head? Or did that just come out?
03717 223344, but you've got to be quick. Spurs fans, are you supporting City tomorrow night, or do you still want Champions League football more than anything? Sean is a Spurs fan. Morning to you, Sean.
Morning, Sean.
Good morning, guys. Good morning.
So, Sean, what's your feeling? Are you hoping that Spurs beat Manchester City tomorrow night and have a chance of a Champions League place?
Guys, let me just tell you, I'd sooner have gout in every single toe on both of my feet, kidney stones and my track caught in my zip all at the same time than Arsenal win the league. And it's that bad. My daughter is now married and I've been home and away all over Europe, everywhere with Tottenham, but believe me, I'll sacrifice all that. I cannot have Arsenal parading a trophy around North London. Listen, no, gout, I'll take it, even if I have to have it for 6 months.
Have you had gout before, Sean?
Yeah, well, I've had worse than gout. I had what you call crow's feet, where I had to have all my toes broken and put rods in them.
Oh, no.
5 weeks. I'd sooner have that, and I had to walk in these ridiculously funny boots. Listen, I'm putting up with that for 6 months, no problem.
You'll put up with that, but you cannot put up. You cannot put up with Arsenal being champions.
Oh, no. Man, alive, man.
You can take all my toes off if you like. I'm not having...
Well, I'm glad you're not going to any extremes anyway, Sean. Will you be at the game tomorrow?
I will, and I will sort of be hoping that we go 1-0 up, so then Arsenal will all sort of celebrating and thinking it's great, and then they come back and beat us. As long as they beat us 2-1 and we play well, that's fine. I'll put up with that. That's great. I'd like to go 1-0 up until the 88th minute, and then they get 2 late goals. Be perfect.
Brilliant. Oh. Look, Sean, thanks for your call. Really enjoyed it, mate.
So as you can see from those two clips, and I'm not saying they're necessarily representative, but I do think it's interesting. I want to put a poll up here. So as you saw in the clip earlier, when Ange Postecoglou was asked about Tottenham fans wanting to see them lose against Manchester City, he acted surprised. He said, are there that many of them? Well, there is a poll on the Tottenham Away YouTube channel, which is fervently in favour of Manchester City winning tomorrow. And here's a little clip from them just to illustrate that.
He does have the Blue Moon logo. Big up to him. I'm changing my logo tomorrow. In fact, I put a tweet out yesterday telling all Spurs fans on the day of the game, everyone change your logo. In fact, I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to wear this one for one day. Make of it what you want. That's what I'll be wearing.
They ran a poll. And this is a fascinating poll for me because here's the question that they asked in a poll. If Ange and our players put in a good performance against Manchester City and take points off them, practically giving the league to Arsenal, I know, right? After we failed to take any points off Arsenal a few weeks ago, would you sack Ange, party or riot? Now, Ange, if you're watching, this is how this section of Spurs fans feels. 22% of them said they would sack Ange and boo our players. 42% said keep Ange and celebrate the win. But 35% said they would riot. So that's a fan base that would rather sacrifice any chance of playing in the Champions League Wouldn't rather give away the money that comes from participating in that trophy, give away the chance to sign the kinds of players who want to be part of a Champions League side in order just to prevent us from winning the Premier League. Now, that is what we're up against tomorrow. That's what's going to make it difficult. I do believe Ange Postecoglou. I want to hear from you. Do you think he's being honest? I know that throughout the history of the Premier League, games like this have come up, notably when Blackburn played Liverpool. The Liverpool fans desperately wanted Kenny Dalglish's Blackburn to win, and they wanted to lose to Blackburn, but on the day Liverpool actually won 2-1, and it was only because Man United weren't able to get a win against West Ham. Could that happen again this season? I'm just saying. But they still beat them, as the caller said earlier. When Spurs played Liverpool, they desperately wanted to lose. Now, I think this is closer to that 1989 situation because there's a couple of things that are obvious. First of all, if Tottenham desperately needed to beat Manchester City to prevent us from winning the Premier League somehow, I don't think they could do it. I mean, this is a side that has shipped goals recently, only just managed to overcome Burnley, a team that's only won 5 games all Premier League season. And the bigger thing is, if Tottenham fans really wanted to stop us winning the title and had any influence over the outcome whatsoever, surely they would have beaten us at home. I mean, we have a terrible record going there as well, and we were able to win fairly convincingly in the first half. We even gave them 2 goals and still won 3-2. So this discussion, this debate about what Tottenham fans want, frankly, it's just another chance to all laugh at Tottenham. Because that's what everybody's doing. Every proper football fan thinks it's inconceivable and ridiculous that a set of supporters could be this rabidly anti another team that they would rather not win anything. In fact, some of them would rather be relegated than see us win the Premier League. But frankly, it's not going to make any difference. Most of them said they don't want to see us crowing all year because we've won the Premier League. It's happening. Get used to the idea, whether it's this season or next season or the season after, we are going to win the Premier League. You're going to have to deal with it, and you don't really have that much to say about it. For all of the talk in October about you winning the Premier League, right now, the only thing you have to hope for in your season is that you can somehow, by being typically crap, hand the title to Manchester City. Manchester City don't need your help. I have a horrible and sinking feeling that Manchester City will turn up and do the business. But to be the kind of fan that wants to take some credit for that when the inevitable happens, well, that's Spursy. And it's why we don't like them. Over the years, the gap has grown again, and they are becoming increasingly irrelevant to us. Most Arsenal fans don't really care what Spurs do because we know that however well they do in short bursts, they are never going to challenge for anything. And Ange Postecoglou's stock has plummeted somewhat towards the end of the season, and I think they need to spend more time concentrating on their own problems. But let me know in the comments how you feel. Do you think there's any chance that Tottenham can continue this strange voodoo, this strange spell they have over Manchester City, and somehow do the Spursiest thing of all time and allow us to win the title by beating Manchester City? Or do you just see it as an inevitable that Manchester City will go there with a full squad and tear them apart? Because, that's what they are. Because they're that good and Tottenham just aren't. Tottenham are an irrelevance, and Tottenham will be playing in Europa League next season. Wear that, Spurs. So tomorrow night, it could well be that the only people cheering for Spurs to win will be Arsenal fans and anyone else who doesn't want to see Man City win yet another Premier League title. Even if all the Spurs fans at that stadium want exactly the opposite, they never get what they want anyway. Spurs, you're an irrelevance. The best you can hope for in this season is to be a thorn in our side. Do your best. Anyway, let me know in the comments how you feel about this game. Do you hold out any hope? Are you optimistic? I think we should be. I think we should just cheer until it's impossible. Even if City steamroller over Tottenham, there's still a slim chance that David Moyes' last game in charge of West Ham could deliver some sort of shock. QPR nearly shocked Man City. Aston Villa 2 years ago were 2-0 up against City. The last day of the season isn't necessarily a foregone conclusion ever. And as much as this Manchester City side roll on like a juggernaut, maybe there are some nerves in there. I don't know. But anyway, until I see you after the game tomorrow, be lucky. Lots of love.
Football is a funny old game.